SuperTalk Mississippi Media production.
Toyota Brookhaven services all makes and models. That could be why we were voted best service department the past 2 years. Come see why. Exit 40 Brookhaven or online at ToyotaBrookhaven.com. Great service, great savings. At Toyota Brookhaven, we deliver.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Good morning and welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us as we begin at least part of a day in West Point, Mississippi. The Prairie Arts Festival is just around the corner. That's coming up on Labor Day weekend. August 30th is the big day for Prairie Arts. We're going to tell you a lot about that, a lot about what is happening in West Point. We are in the heart of downtown, the old Carnegie Library building. That is the home of the Greater West Point Partnership offices, where lots of good stuff is happening. It's warm this morning, but it is not oppressively so, at least not at this hour. Going to be hot across the state of Mississippi today. We're glad to be with you. Remind you that the C Spire text line, as always, is open. That's the best way for you to connect, to communicate with us. We'd love to hear from you. Yesterday morning, especially active on the C Spire text line. Your team has you covered on the field. C Spire has you covered everywhere else with the best technology for home, work, and on the go. Backed by local 24/7 customer support. Learn more at cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. The number, if you want to join the conversation, is 601-879-4395. Told you yesterday it's going to be the case all week long. Will East is in for Lance, who is taking the week off. I did not get a 4 a.m. text message from Lance today, so maybe he crashed after the late night, early morning yesterday. Will, good morning to you.
Good morning. I've already had one this morning. I had a little incident with my coffee.
Are you wearing your coffee?
No. I guess I got my half and half and my coffee mixed up when I was pouring them. And I didn't test it out until I got on the road this morning. Mm-hmm. And it was nothing but half and half with a little bit of coffee.
You were in zombie mode early when you got up then. I mean, if you poured a cup full of half and half and then a splash of coffee, that's no good.
When I finally got to the office, I opened it up just to look, and it's white. I mean, it's.
You know there's a solution for that.
What?
Drink black coffee.
I used to. I can't anymore for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I first started in radio many moons ago, I drank black coffee, and eventually I just stopped for whatever reason. Some people, coffee's taste change over the years, and others don't. Some people, it's the same throughout, but mine has changed. I used to use black coffee, but I grew up, Richard, on instant coffee. My parents only ever drank instant coffee, and so I didn't like coffee when I was younger. I thought it was terrible because I'd only had one experience with coffee, and that was instant coffee, which is horrible.
Are you brand agnostic, or are you locked in on only one coffee brand from home?
I don't care.
Don't care?
No.
I mean, there is occasionally bad coffee, and you're like, I don't want that. But I'm kind of like you. I can kind of go with the. Lance is up. Got a message from Lance. He says he's listening. He said he automagically woke up at 4 a.m. Go back to bed, friend. Enjoy your time off. I I'm kind of the same way. So we've got a coffee maker that is like it's dual purpose, so you can brew coffee, but it's also got the pod deal on it, so the Keurig combo system or whatever. And we do the Gavalia, the yellow bag that you can buy at Kroger for the coffee grounds, and then for the pods, it's just kind of whatever. We had bought the ones that were I don't know, I guess Starbucks, which is we found out not too terribly long ago is actually Nestle.
Yeah,
they just licensed it, which is fine. But I think Jane decided, like, if we're going to get a big box of these things, what's the cheapest one? And she got Krispy Kreme. It's fine. It's whatever.
It's okay.
It works out.
I think I drink Folgers or whatever's on sale, but
yeah.
My folks still drink instant coffee to this day, and in fact I keep some at the house whenever my mom comes to visit, so that she has her instant coffee. And I can't describe how terrible. You know that there's other coffee out there, Mom, that's much better. She refuses to change.
Whatever you're used to, I suppose. Tom in Jackson says he loves instant coffee.
More power to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of whatever you're used to. But then he says Folgers. That's not the same thing.
No, Folgers makes an instant coffee.
Oh, do they?
I guess they all do. And some people are drinking it. It's still in the market, so.
I suppose. Lance is making sure Will does right. Wife and I do instant Tazier's Choice for years.
Taster's Choice.
Taster's Choice. Oh, yeah.
I think that was the original instant. I think they invented it, and that's like the go-to brand for instant coffee aficionados.
Amanda drops a Junior Mint in her black coffee. Sends us a cup of it as it's ready to go.
What? I've never heard of that.
What was it Jimmy Buffett said? Junior Mints! We need more Junior Mints! Iuka, generally sunny today, despite a few clouds this afternoon. Stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High of 97 there in the northeastern corner of the state. Right here in West Point, going to be sunny. Maybe a few clouds moving in this afternoon. That thunderstorm is possible here as well. 97 for the high. Hot spot that I found on the map, Inverness, except for a few afternoon clouds. Going to be mainly sunny today. Stray shower is possible. High of 100 degrees with a little bit of a breeze out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Past Christian down in coastal Mississippi. Sunny, few clouds mixed in, stray shower, thunderstorm possible. High of 91. That's where we are at this point, right? Everybody has the possibility of that pop-up afternoon thunderstorm mixed in. Orville Wright was born on this day in 1871. The inventor of American aviator, one of the Wright brothers born in Dayton. I mean, you think about a guy that has the ability to basically invent a plane and popcorn. What a well-lived life by Orville Redenbacher Wright.
It started off pretty bad because of the name Orville,
Well, I mean, it's like yesterday
after that.
We were talking about Meriwether Lewis yesterday. You needed to do something pretty significant in your life when you got that kind of a name, when Orville is the name. If your name is Coco, I don't know what the expectation of you is. Coco Chanel was born on this day in 1883. The French fashion designer, high fashion, Coco Chanel, born in Saumur, France. Gene Roddenberry, I mentioned this only because some might care.
Roddenberry.
Yeah, whatever. He was the creator of Star Trek, born in El Paso, Texas.
One of the greats, man.
Roddenberry.
I think they put his ashes in space.
Did they?
I think they launched him into space, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that on a SpaceX rocket, or was it before?
No, I think
he passed away in 1991. I don't think SpaceX was a thing.
SpaceX wasn't a thing.
We had the summit at the White House yesterday, and I saw a great AI-generated video meme. Can a meme be a video?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll call it a video meme where Trump's voice is introducing the people as they step out of their car and come into the White House. And he was talking about Meloni, the Italian prime minister, and he goes, I said if Elon and Meloni ever had a child, they had to name it Eloni Meloni.
She's great, by the way. She's awesome.
Yeah, she really is. How about this guy? He was awesome, too. Born in 1931, Bill Shoemaker is an American Racing Hall of Fame jockey. He has 8,833 career victories, including winning the Kentucky Derby in 1955, 59, 65, and again in 1986. He won the Belmont Stakes in 1957, 59, 62, 67, and then again in 1975. A horse trainer, a mystery novelist, and sometimes called Willie. Bill Willie Shoemaker. Passed away in 2003, but what a career. You remember this name? Steve Sloan, former head football coach at Ole Miss. He was born on this day in 1944, coached at Vanderbilt, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, and Duke. He was the hottest name in coaching when he was hired in the, late 70s at Ole Miss?
79, I think, something like that.
Bill Clinton was born on this day in 1946. The American politician from Hope, Arkansas, was the 42nd president of the United States. Served from 1993 to 2001 as El Presidente. Great Mississippian and great actor. Born in 1947, Gerald McRaney of Major Dad fame. Born in Collins, Mississippi. And Leanne Womack, born on this day in 1966 in Jacksonville, Texas. She hopes you dance. We're back in West Point right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Glad to be spending the early part of your day with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. We are broadcasting live from downtown West Point, Mississippi. Sun starting to make its way up as it gets a little bit lighter outside. We were corrected. I wasn't going to correct you because I wasn't 100% sure, Will, but somebody said Sloan was hired after the 77 season. Great offensive coach, never had a defense. That's from Ken. Thanks, Ken. Good to hear from you this morning. Right in Long Beach, community coffee and chicory in a 26-ounce travel mug with a 4-count squirt of liquid stevia. Very precise. Amanda also suggests that we should try Hershey Kisses or peanut butter cups in the coffee, if that's your thing.
I got to have less of those. That's the problem.
Community coffee breakfast blend for Mike in Richton. Paul says, Richard, instant coffee grounds in your brownie mix. You'll thank me later.
Oh.
Kirk in Columbus grew up drinking chicory, little stronger. Jeff in Grenada, he's a Sanka man for instant coffee.
Sanka, yeah.
Cece in Senatobia, black coffee is tasty, but like drinking methamphetamine.
I have a couple questions.
How do you know that? Remember that Milo's tea jug we were discussing yesterday? 1692. Salem witch trials rolling on. 5 more people. George Jacobs, Martha Carrier, George Burroughs, John Proctor, and John Willard hanged for allegedly practicing witchcraft as a result of the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts Bay Colony. Gold discovered in California. 1848, the New York Herald was the first major Eastern newspaper to report the discovery of gold in California. I don't know if that specific story is the one that sparked the phrase, "Go West, young man," but a lot of people did just that. I know that you don't love the creepy crawly creatures. That is well documented. What about heights? Are you good with heights?
Yeah, I'm fine with heights.
So you could have done what Dmitry Mendeleev did in 1887. I don't know what hot air balloon technology was like at the point. I'm assuming it had not advanced to the stage that it is now. He made a solo ascent by balloon to an altitude of 11,500 feet. It's about 2 miles above Klin, Russia, just to observe an eclipse.
You got to be brave.
Yeah.
Going up in a modern balloon is still, you don't hear about accidents with them a whole lot.
Yeah, but you see them on the old Instagram from time to time.
In 1887?
Yeah. He just fired up the balloon, floated 2 miles into the air, and said, "Oh, look at the eclipse." I wonder if he had the welder's goggles that you're supposed to wear. You know, you aren't supposed to look directly into an eclipse, burn out your eye retinas. I don't think I think the retina is part of the eye. This day in sports history, 1911. I notched this because we talked last week or a couple of weeks ago on his birthday about Christy Mathewson, who is one of the most dominant pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball. He lost to the Reds on this day in 1911, August 19th. It's only significant because he had defeated them 22 consecutive times before losing. Man, you want to talk about a guy that you're not excited about seeing on the mound. Oh, he got us the last time. Actually, he got us the last 22 times. Ty Cobb got his 3,000th hit on this day, fourth and youngest player to achieve 3,000 hits. Did it against the Boston Red Sox while playing for the Detroit Tigers. 1976, Gerald Ford officially wins the Republican presidential nomination at the Kansas City convention. It did not go well for him. Lost to a guy named Carter. 1983, Billy Cannon, the great LSU running back, and all the, later in life at least, he was an all-around good dude. Dentist. Had the pleasure of spending some time with Billy Cannon along the way. Yeah, he developed a good friendship with my dear friend Charles Walker, and would occasionally come to Oxford. And it was it was a sit on the farm porch and just tell stories, and actually mostly just listen to stories. But really, really cool. And somewhere, I wish I could more readily put my hands on it. I've got a picture that Billy Cannon and Jake Gibbs both signed.
Really?
Yeah. Really,
that story about him and the counterfeiting was. I read I think it was.
Yeah, sentenced to 5 years in prison for counterfeiting.
Pretty crazy, and because he was sentenced and spent time in federal prison, that's the reason that John Darnell got a vote in the Heisman race. You ever heard that story?
No.
So John Darnell, he told it on Sports Talk one time before an Egg Bowl.
I have forgotten about that.
He got a vote. One single vote in the whatever year he was playing, got a vote for Heisman because his dad knew a guy who was in prison, and I guess it was cellmates with Billy Cannon, and Billy Cannon had to vote, of course, because former Heisman winners vote.
Probably couldn't watch all the games. Ask his buddy, "Hey, what's going on in college football?" Man, this kid up at Ole Miss, Darnell, he's having a heck of a year.
So he I think that's the story that he told on Sports Talk one time.
Well, JD listens regularly. I don't know if he's with us at 6:27 this morning, but we'll have to. Oh, there it is. He is listening right now, and I just got the face palm emoji.
All right, did I tell that story correctly? I'm thinking that I did.
We will.
We'll have to ask him.
We'll come back to that. 1984, Ronald Reagan got the nomination officially as the Republican candidate. There's domination, like the way that John Darnell played in 1988 and 1989 to get that Heisman vote, and then there is what Ronald Reagan did in the 1984 presidential election. There's a good thing for Walter Mondale and the state of Minnesota. The only electoral college votes that went to the Democrat candidate came from Minnesota, as Ronald Reagan won 49 of 50 states in that 84 presidential election.
A pretty dominant run if you think about it, because 84 they were so dominant, and then Bush after that against Dukakis.
Michael Dukakis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to give you an idea of how far we have come. In 1993, the Dow Jones Industrial Average set an all-time high at 3,612.13. Today, before the markets open, the value of the Dow is at 44,990. If you dropped a few shekels in the offering plate of the Dow Jones back in 1993, it would have been a pretty good return. Don't mess with it; just ride it out, and all would be well today. In 2020, Apple became the first U.S. company to be valued at $2 trillion. Just 2 years after reaching a $1 trillion valuation. Pretty rapid growth time there between 2018 and 2020 for the fruit company. Forrest Gump, ahead of his time. The University of Mississippi Medical Center School of Nursing is establishing a new scholarship program courtesy of a $2 million donation. Students at the nursing school's Jackson and Oxford locations will now have access to the new Joanne and William Conway Nursing Scholarship, which was ignited by a grant from the Bedford Falls Foundation. The gift will create 167 full scholarships for traditional and accelerated Bachelor of Science nursing programs. The traditional BSN program is 4 years long. There's a 2-year nursing curriculum component of that completed in Jackson at the UMMC School of Nursing, whereas the accelerated programs for students who already have a bachelor's degree in another area of study are completed in just a year. According to the medical school's vice chancellor, you know her well, Dr. Lou Ann Woodward, the scholarship fund comes at a time when Mississippi is facing a significant nursing shortage. Some projections could see Mississippi by the year 2030 at a near 17% shortfall in the number of nurses available, with trends predicting an alarming shortage. Officials working to reverse course and have quality nurses educated and trained to meet the present and future needs of Mississippians. Governor Tate Reeves has given the green light for around 200 Mississippi National Guard troops to be sent to the nation's capital as President Trump continues his push to flood Washington, D.C. with federal law enforcement. Last week, Trump federalized the Metro Police Department in D.C., allowing for hundreds of National Guard soldiers and federal agents to be deployed to police the streets of the Capitol. That has received significant pushback because, some people just want more crime. Tate Reeves says, I've approved the deployment of approximately 200 Mississippi National Guard soldiers to D.C. to support President Trump's effort to return law and order to our nation's capital. Crime is out of control there, and it's clear something must be done to combat it. Reeves joins other GOP governors, including Ohio, South Carolina, and West Virginia, in sending troops to aid the president's efforts. Back with you on MRC right after this.
From the Seabrook Paint.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now that's entertainment.
If I don't love you, baby, grits ain't grocery, eggs ain't poultry, and Mona Lisa was a man.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. We are coming to you from the offices of the West Point Growth Alliance, the old Carnegie Library in downtown West Point, Mississippi. Prairie Arts Festival is coming up in about a week and a half. August 30th is the big day with stuff that's going to be happening on Friday leading into it. Lots of art vendors and great food and live music. Lisa Klutt's going to tell us all about that when we get things started in the 7 o'clock hour. Joe Max Higgins will join us this morning, as will John Turner and Brian Clark from 4 County Electric. And then golf course designer and former U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate will be along in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll talk about some of the things that are happening at Old Waverly and Mossy Oak, the golf scene in general in the state of Mississippi, amateur golf, and look forward to getting into a bunch of that with Jerry Pate coming up at 8:20 this morning. We'll get to the D.C. Summit coming up in just a bit, but we start things off here with sports headlines. Our sports headlines are brought to you every morning by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Your home for family fun, live entertainment, and casino thrills. PearlRiverResort.com. Richard Cross, Will East with you. News out of Ole Miss basketball. With just under 3 months until the season tips off, the Ole Miss men's team has finally gotten the final piece of its roster on campus. Ole Miss officials confirmed yesterday that France native Ilias Kamardine has made it to campus. His arrival has been hanging in the balance due to holdups spurred by delays in I-20 forms, not the interstate, but the residency requirements, certificates of eligibility for non-immigrant student status. That got held up in the red tape and the paperwork pile. That holdup, to some degree, was prompted by President Trump's administration halting visa appointments for international students and exchange visitors at embassies and consular posts worldwide to update vetting procedures. That started back in May. So this was not something where Donald Trump was expressly out to get Chris Beard. At least we don't think that was the rationale in some of these policies that were put in place. Regardless, the European hooper, known for his athleticism, a 6'10" wingspan. That's like if you put both arms out, they stretch a long way. 6 feet 10 inches. He averaged 8 points and 2 rebounds a game, couple of assists a game, playing professionally in France with JDA Dijon. Led France to a first-place finish in the FIBA Under-20 Eurobasket tournament in 2023. He was the MVP of that tournament. He's not the only guy that Ole Miss fans are going to need to familiarize themselves with. You may need to buy a game program, if they still do those, or at least pull the roster up on your phone early in the season. The only 2 guys that returned that played any significant minutes from a year ago for Ole Miss are star big man Malik Dia and Eduardo Klafke, the young international guard as well. Got a bunch of new dudes. Corey Chest was at LSU last year. Corin Johnson at Louisville. James Scott at Louisville. A.J. Storr was at Kansas. Travis Perry was at Kentucky. People excited about the hot shooting guard, Travis Perry. Augusto Casio was at Butler. Keza Giffa at High Point. Hobart Grayson was at Washita Baptist. And then you got some freshmen, including Tyler Jordan, Patton Pinkins, who is the son of assistant coach Al Pinkins, and Nico Bundalo. They have all earned roster spots. Good luck with those names, Gary Darby, as he moves toward his first year as play-by-play announcer for Ole Miss men's basketball. Ohio State has named a starting quarterback. They're going with second-year player Julian Sayin. Remember, Ohio State opens the year with number 1 Texas in the horseshoe. Ryan Day, the head coach at Ohio State, on Monday announced the decision, noting that Sayin won a close competition against junior Lincoln Kienholz, but separated himself over the last week or so. A couple of years ago, Sayin was the number 9 recruit in the entire country, top prospect out of California in the 2024 class, originally signed with Alabama, but when Nick Saban said adios, so did Julian Sayin, instead transferring to Ohio State. Florida has high hopes for their quarterback this year, DJ Lagway, but he took team reps for the first time since training camp began in a practice yesterday. Still wearing a non-contact jersey, stepped on the field for 11-on-11 drills for the first time since straining his left calf while running with teammates in July. Maybe he just shouldn't run. The sophomore had been modified in practice for 3 weeks, limited to throwing in side and individual drills. Florida star player was limited last fall with shoulder soreness, slowed in November with a strained left hamstring. He's really, really good, but you got to keep him healthy. And finally, in your sports headlines, Oklahoma. You know, everybody's trying to find ways to make money. What can you do to make money? Well, Oklahoma has a series, a product called Sooner Magic Memories. It is it's a deal where they sell experiences to fans. Hey, you want to get a behind the scenes look?
All right.
You can buy this for this. Pre-game field access. I don't know. Having lunch with the athletics director. I'm just making stuff up.
Visit the locker room,
Yes, but I'm not making this up. Oklahoma is offering fans a chance to attend post-game news conferences. The cost for 2 people to sit in on the media session after the Oklahoma-Michigan non-conference showdown on September 6th $692.11. For the SEC home opener against Auburn on September 20th, that one's $576.86. OU bills it this way. Get exclusive post-game media access for you and one guest and see where real-time reactions unfold. Hear OU coaches and players address reporters moments after the final whistle. Watch the story take shape through the questions, the insights, and the atmosphere that set the headlines. You're only paying this if you have never been to a post-game football news
it's not very entertaining. The only entertaining one I've ever been to was when Houston Nutt walks out. It was the night of the infamous Auburn Mississippi State game, and he walks out, and I had my laptop out, and I was sitting in the front row, and he looked at me before he says anything else in the press conference. He says, "What's the score?" Didn't say what game. He said, "What's the score?" And I said, 3-2. And he said, he laughed. He says, "Is that a baseball score?" And then went on about his press conference. I wonder if the price, usually the ticket prices go down as the team does worse. I wonder if Oklahoma starts doing worse. I wonder if the prices for this will go up because the more irate fans will want to visit and ask their own questions.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, is there an add-on cost where you can actually ask a question? Because I think this is an observation only Sooner Magic memory.
It's a free-for-all. You can just raise your hand. Are they going to have
you're going to have somebody that's like, no, sorry, you're going to have to.
If they lose a game they're not supposed to, some fan, obviously it's going to be a passionate fan because they're paying the money to go there to this post-game press conference.
Coach, you paid all this money for John Mateer to be your quarterback from Washington State. Why does he stink? What organization? What organization are you with? SoonerMemoryMagic.com.
Look, Oklahoma. Okay, fine. I would love to see this at Auburn. This is this is where I would love to have this.
Those are your sports headlines brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Book your tee time for Dancing Rabbit Golf Club at DancingRabbitGolf.com. Dancing Rabbit, 2 18-hole championship courses, the Oaks and the Azaleas that you can play. Dancing Rabbit, part of Pearl River Resort. Well, the European leaders were in D.C. yesterday. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, French President Emmanuel Macron. Brigitte was not there. United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Italy Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Finnish President Alexander Stubb, new golfing buddy of Donald Trump. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. They were all in D.C. yesterday, along with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and, of course, Donald Trump. I don't know that some of the media covering the White House really got the story that they were hoping for yesterday because largely it was good news. Rutte said this: without the help of President Donald Trump, the deadlock with Russian President Vladimir Putin would have continued. Said Trump was instrumental in getting the Russian leader to come to the table for discussion to ending the ongoing war in Ukraine. The direct quote, without President Trump, this deadlock with Putin would not have been broken. He was the only one who could do this, starting in February. Also said Trump was right in his criticism previously of NATO over the lack of defense spending by its member states. Trump has long demanded that NATO's 32 member countries pay their fair share, spend more money. He got that done earlier this summer, and looks like it's going to come into play. There's a lot more to get to, a lot more to unpack from yesterday's meeting in Washington, D.C., and we will do some of that throughout the show this morning. Lottery update for you. Did anybody win that big old Powerball jackpot last night? We'll tell you when we come back with the Mississippi Lottery update. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, live in West Point.
From the Venable Glass.
Time to switch on. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Yeah!
big number. Yeah, I did not win the big Powerball. Nope, that did not happen. But Will, I got my lottery tickets last night for the Powerball drawing, and boy, it is a big number. It was $605 million was the jackpot last night. We did not have a winner for that massive number, and so it rolls on. The jackpot for Wednesday night's drawing $643 million. An estimated cash value of almost $291 million. Last night's numbers, 15, 46, 61, 63, 64 with a Powerball of 1 and the power play multiplier of 3. But I had one of the numbers and the Powerball, and so I won like $12, I think.
Hey, pay for your ticket, right?
Yeah, for that one. Got a few combinations in there, but yeah. So be sure to check it out. That number that is on the verge of being life-changing money for somebody like Will East.
Absolutely.
No jackpot winner last night. $643 million, estimated cash value of $291. Mississippi players have been on a Powerball hot streak lately. In the past month alone, 5 players each have won $50,000. 4 of them multiplied their winnings by going with the $1 power play option. Powerball tickets are just $2, and for the power play option, $3, you have a chance to multiply your winnings. Tell you about a couple of winners from yesterday. Tishomingo man won $23,200 on 8 tickets that he got from Sprint Mart in Iuka. That was on a Cash 4 scratch-off. A South Haven woman won $5,000 on a ticket from Zip Trip in Olive Branch. That was a $5 Gold Bar Bingo scratch-off as well. And then how about the Greenville woman? She bought she made an investment. She brought the $20 Triple Red Triple Sevens scratch-off and won $200,000 on a ticket from Double Quick in Greenwood. $200,000. You can only win if you play. Be sure to check them out online at mslottery.com. There is a Mega Millions jackpot tonight that's up to $216 million with an estimated cash value of $97 million. So a lot of good stuff going on with the Mississippi Lottery. Glad to be with you this morning. You can join us on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395 if you want to join us and be part of the conversation this morning. Sean says Lance must have hit the jackpot on his birthday because he hasn't been at work since. Can neither confirm nor deny. Thomas in Greenwood, was J.D. Vance at the meeting yesterday? He was, and he was as quiet as a church mouse, at least when the cameras were rolling. He was a bit of an instigator with the last Zelensky appearance at the White House. Thought it was disrespectful that Zelensky did not dress better.
Did you see Trump's what he said?
You know about the interaction with the guy that asked the reporter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. So the reporter that asked Zelensky about why he wasn't more dressed last time and caused a bit of a global kerfluffle, he followed it up yesterday. He goes, Mr. President Zelensky, man, you look great. What a great suit jacket. And they kind of laughed about it. And Trump goes, hey, you remember that reporter? He's the one that gave you a hard time. And Zelensky kind of waited for him to start his question. And then he interrupted him. He goes, hey, I changed. You're wearing the same suit, though. Thought that was pretty good. Let's see here. What else have we got? I think Jackson Dart is the best quarterback in New York. I do, but I would not start him in the season opener. I'd still go with Russell Wilson for a little while, see how the season is going. You got a veteran there, and pick your spot. I'm still not of the opinion that throwing a first-year player into a starting quarterback spot, especially in New York City, is the best way to do it. But we'll see. Man, he has had an incredible first couple of preseason games. Why isn't the D.C. police always federal? Return all residential to Virginia and Maryland as intended. It is a federal district. I think the laws and the rules are kind of complicated there. The federal government can step in at just about any point in D.C., but they do allow it to operate with some level of autonomy. Mayor Muriel Bowser, she was questioning the motives for the federalization of, she's like, is it really about getting rid of violent crime? Because everybody can get behind that. Well, apparently not everybody, but she says everybody. She goes, or is this about arresting illegals? So the Trump administration was boasting about 400 arrests, half of them being illegal. She said if this is about ICE and deporting illegals, they need to say that. What if it's about all of the above? Because all of it contributes to the crime problem in our nation's capital. What if? 6 o'clock hour in the books. News is next. Then we're back to you live in West Point.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Ready? Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk Mississippi.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. Let MWG Employer Services help you with those day-to-day tasks that aren't always a whole lot of fun. Full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you and your business needs. Learn more online at MWGEmployerServices.com. Or you can give them a call, 601-206-7966. That's 601-206-7966. We are coming to you live from West Point, Mississippi. Good morning to you. Glad to have you along for the ride, and glad to welcome Lisa Klutz in, Executive Director of the West Point Growth Alliance. We are getting really close to Prairie Arts Festival 2025. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you bright and early this morning.
Thanks. It helps to be a morning person.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. So August 30th is the big day. That weekend will have a lot of activity going on.
It will. Labor Day weekend is always busy in West Point. The 47th Annual Prairie Arts Festival is this year. August 30th, downtown West Point. We start the day off with a 5K run at 8 a.m., get the adrenaline going, and the festival goes from till 4 p.m.
The 5K thing is something that has intimidated me for most of my life, but a couple of years ago, my wife decided that should be a family activity for a 5K that we have locally, and so that has become a thing.
You really have to train for it. You can't just decide, I'm going to run a 5K.
Unless you mostly walk it. Do you have some walkers in this, or is this all serious runners?
Both.
Okay.
Both. We have people that travel to West Point because it's chip timed and they're serious about their time. And then we have the locals that like to just get out, enjoy the neighborhoods and the walk and the day. And so they come out too.
Have you ever considered riding your bicycle in the 5K?
This
is off camera. So this is special for the Christmas parade?
I used to ride it all over town, but now it's decorated for the Christmas parade, so now it's solely for Christmas.
See, I think that you should be like the grand marshal of the 5K and ride your decorated Christmas beach-style bike with the basket on the front of it for the Prairie Arts Festival 5K.
Yeah, I'm already running a marathon out here the morning of the festival.
Few other things going on. Yeah. I tried to get Lisa to make kind of a grand entrance this morning to ride her bicycle onto the stage, and she said, you want me to just pop a wheelie getting up here? And that might not have been good for anybody. All right, so arts is in the name, and we know that with festivals across the Southeast, that's always a central component. But I know that's a big part of the festival itself, the Prairie Arts Festival, and you've got local artists, regional artists, people from all over, and kind of anything you want, right?
Yes, and the arts is a big part of West Point in general. We have a lot of murals. We have a lot of artists here in town. But we have about 200 vendors that come. We have returning vendors that we look forward to seeing every year. We always have new vendors that come. It's interesting to see the art that they bring with them. We have awards, Best in Show. We have different categories for pottery and sculpture and paintings. And it's just a great mix of fine arts and handmade crafts at Prairie Arts Festival.
Food?
Of course. And, the popularity of food trucks lately, we have gotten more applications for food vendors than ever before. And so we've kind of revamped how we accept the food vendors, that a mix of a unique menu items, because, a lot of people do funnel cakes, but what about those fried Oreos or, different items like that?
You got like a sushi truck that's going to be in for the health. Anybody doing carrots and hummus or anything for the health?
No
conscious?
Healthy options that I know of. No.
You don't go to festivals for that.
There is a frozen chocolate covered banana. I do get that, and it's really good.
It sounds pretty good. Nice and refreshing on a.
It's
on a
light
day.
when you're running around and shopping.
It's a hot time of the year, but the long-range forecast actually looks pretty good for Saturday the 30th, considering how hot it has been for the last few weeks.
I'm going to say yes, it does, but we do not talk about the weather at all in the festival and event planning.
That is fair. My apologies. I'll knock on wood or do whatever I need. Since it was me that said it and not you.
That's true. But that's we do watch. I do watch the weather. Sometimes I guide the weather with my eyes and my mind. It's, some years there's a hurricane coming in. It's like just watching what's going to happen. Those vendors want to know, and the shoppers traveling to West Point, to Prairie Arts.
You mentioned a second ago with the artists, there's some that you look forward to seeing every year because they come back. In terms of, percentage or numbers, what's the breakdown of people that get involved newly versus people that have been coming for a couple of years or a decade or 20 years?
That's an interesting question because some of the vendors, they come for a long time. And then I don't want to say they've saturated the market, but they find other festivals to go to, and I might lose some really good artists. But then the reverse happens. Other artists have gone to other shows for so long, they want to come to Prairie Arts and try it out. So sometimes those artists will come for a long time, take a break and go to other shows, and then come back.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen this year.
Just the idea of kind of keeping it fresh for customers that are potential customers that are coming
their exposure.
The festival calendar has always fascinated me because a lot of these artists that do festivals, I'm in this place this weekend and this place next weekend, and they know their schedule a year in advance or certainly months in advance. Is that one of the reasons that when you settle on a date, you lock that in and you say, okay, this is going to be our weekend for a long time?
Yes, because this is our 47th year. Other festivals that have popped up, they have coordinated around our festival,
right.
and other festivals in the state also. And they are planning their calendar a year in advance. I mean, they start calling in January. Now, we don't start taking applications until April 1, but they're calling April 1, and they are planning their whole schedule when they're coming and where they're going.
If you're putting on events, there's this idea of kind of best practices, and maybe you compare notes with others. Like, hey, this is what's working really well for us. This is something new that we've tried. Maybe another festival has tried something new that you haven't done. Do you collaborate with other people that are in similar positions, whether it's in Mississippi or other parts of the Southeast, as to what's working and what maybe you're going to punt on?
Of course. Sometimes I've done this for 18 years now, and sometimes I'm like, do I know what I'm doing? Am I doing it the best way I can?
I feel that way all the time.
Do you when you get up every morning? And so constantly, I go to other festivals to shop, of course, so I can enjoy them. But I'm also watching and seeing how the vendors are laid out, how they got in and set up, just the whole setup. And I have other friends that coordinate festivals, and so we're constantly comparing notes and talking about our hiccups and, hey, have you tried this? Or it might not work for you, but it might work for me. And yeah, there's a lot of collaboration.
In terms of putting on a festival this size, Prairie Arts Festival coming up August 30th. That's Labor Day weekend. It's going to be right here in downtown West Point. In fact, the gazebo is kind of like, that's like the center of it all, isn't it?
It sort of.
Kind of.
It's the gazebo is an icon in the park, and we used to showcase the fine arts, the juried arts there.
Okay.
We have now since moved to the Louise Campbell Arts Center, more secure location. But also, what I'm going to say is that after the festival, people say, "Okay, what's next? What are you coming up?" Well, let me tell you. I'm getting ready to tear down the gazebo and rebuild it. We've received, through Mississippi Main Street and the legislature, we have received ARPA funds that we have designated projects throughout the state, and we are going to rebuild the gazebo. It was dedicated at a Prairie Arts Festival in like 1980, 81.
Okay.
And it has been the center of Prairie Arts Festival, but it has been loved but it's completely worn out, and we just need to rebuild it.
So after 4 decades, it gets some new bones.
It does.
And that'll be outstanding.
So I'm working on that behind the scenes while I put on a festival too.
Well, good luck to you. Does it feel like it's on autopilot? You said this is your 18th, and so you kind of know the rhythm of what that week or the months leading up to it are like. The festival goes on. What concerns you at this point? Like when you're counting down the days, what's the thing that you're waking up in the middle of the night going, have I done that?
Well, the planning happens all year long.
Okay.
Things that go into place, but when it comes down to the last week or two, is spinning those plates even harder, going back and checking on your people that you talked to maybe a month ago or 2 months ago. It's spinning those plates even faster.
I know you're going to visit with Gerard coming up
Yes.
later. You'll talk more about Prairie Arts Festival, but also some of the other stuff that is happening in West Point. So good to see you. It's always good to be
Thanks
here.
for being here.
Glad to be in West Point on this Tuesday morning. Today is the 19th, is that right? 19th of August, which means we are just 11 days away from Prairie Arts Festival 2025 right here in the heart of downtown West Point. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
We got more coming up with you. Joe Max Higgins will join us coming up next. We'll talk about what is going on in his world here in the Golden Triangle. That's when Mornings with Richard Cross continues on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
What are we going to do? Rise and shine with information and insight. Check it out. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. A guest that really needs no introduction. He just has a flashing sign that he carries over his head so everybody knows who he is everywhere he goes. Joe Max Higgins. He is a big part of the business community here in the Golden Triangle. We're broadcasting live from West Point. Prairie Arts Festival, just 11 days away, August 30th, Labor Day weekend. Always a fun time in West Point.
Always.
Good morning.
It's hot. It's hot when festival time is over here, though.
That usually coincides with the start of dove season, the start of football, and it's hot everywhere you go.
There you go.
But fall's just around the corner.
It is.
And by just around the corner, like 2 months away at that point still, it feels like, how are you, my friend?
I'm good.
Good to see you. Big things going on with Link today, right?
Yeah, we're having a big day today.
New office?
We've moved into a new office. Actually moved in 4th of July week.
Okay.
Thought it'd take us about 3 or 4 days and everything be up and running. Well,
You've moved before. You know that doesn't work that way.
And they were still hanging pictures yesterday when I left at 4:30. So, but we've got our open house and welcoming people to come see the new office, see the new digs, and we've got a presentation. We're going to dedicate our big training room to Bobby Harper, who has been key and instrumental in our organization since I've been here. He's the guy that went out and twisted the tails and raised the money for the trust, which is our booster club that lets us do the extra things.
Yeah.
And millions of dollars he's raised, and we think it's time that he gets recognized for that.
Outstanding. What's going on right now? I mean, you talk about the new office, and so that's kind of like an internal thing. But we've talked about big projects. We've talked about the Cinco Mega site, but knowing you have never been comfortable sitting still or standing pat. It's always looking to the future and looking at what's next. So what is next?
Well, we've probably what is next is we're starting to get customers coming in the park, in the supplier park at the aluminum mill.
Okay.
Probably in the next 30 days or so. We're still waiting on schedules. And it's been announced. Klockner Metals is going to build an almost $100 million facility there to process aluminum. That'll probably be the next thing we announce. We got 4 projects we're working, one in West Point, one in Starkville, and two out by the airport. They are all big projects. And when I say big, they're all billion or multi-billion-dollar projects.
These are new projects that you're working on.
New projects that we're working, and 2 are in the metals industry or metals or minerals needed for metals. One is data center, and then one is actually going to make product that's going to support data centers. It's not a data center. It's going to make product that's going to support data centers. So all of those are big projects that we're trying to spin a plate. 2 of them, I would say, are developmental, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That they're working towards a deal. The other 2, companies got the cash money to do the deal if they want to do the deal. And then a host of smaller stuff.
Well, and pipeline is interesting, right? I mean, anybody that has worked in sales and has had a manager said, all right, tell me what's in your pipeline.
Yep.
Whether you're using some kind of a software platform or you got to plug all that stuff in like Salesforce, or it's just a conversation about, hey, who are your prospects? What's on the horizon? What is the pipeline like when you're talking about these large economic development projects?
Well,
what's the timeline?
The big ones, we may be in development for 12 to 18 months. Okay, so they start out, you start working them, you find out if they're real or not. We got cut on a big project not too long ago. They started out with 26 states, down to 23, down to 17, down to 13. We're still there.
Okay.
And when they cut it 13, we're out. Okay. But if you stay in, it can be 12 to 18 months if you win the deal. And then it's another 12 to 18 or 36 months before you're hiring your people. So these are long-term deals.
So Governor was on with me last Wednesday, and I asked him about this. It kind of spurred from a conversation with Bill Court back in the Neshoba County Fair, and he was talking about you don't win all the projects, but sometimes you don't win a project because you say no.
Absolutely.
That you say it's too expensive or it's not the right fit. Is that something that you deal with as well in terms of evaluating these deals?
Absolutely. There's a lot of times we say we may not have the labor to support. You can't let somebody come and then not be happy, okay? Mm-hmm. That's a kiss of death. So it may be your project's too big for us. We can't support it. We're not comfortable with your financials, especially on new companies, newcos, what we call them. You're taking a lot of risk. What happens if they start to build and then it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Your mix with your other companies. I will tell you that over the years, we've told some pretty big deals no because it just wasn't a fit.
Do they appreciate that also, even if they're frustrated in the moment? Maybe they thought it was the right spot, and you're like, I don't think this is going to work.
Statute of limitations probably is over. Okay,
I would think so.
So when Haley Barber was governor and Greg Swope was MDA director, and I was doing what I did, we were working a project with U.S. Steel to make a coke replacement, the coke used in steel production, similar to what SDI is building right now in our biochar project, and they wanted to come on actually that site, and it was many hundreds of millions of dollars. And
U.S. Steel, big operation,
and we started talking about union, and they said, our policy is we don't endorse and support nor oppose, and we said, we'd just rather not have a union facility here. And sitting in the 15th floor of the Woolfolk building, the 3 of us said, we believe we'll pass.
They don't get told no a whole lot either, do they?
Well, a lot of companies don't get told no, but that's okay,
Visiting with Joe Max Higgins. He's the executive director of the Golden Triangle Development Link, that multi-county partnership. I can't tell you how many times I have referenced you when we're talking about economic development.
I've heard you. I listen to you almost every morning.
I appreciate that, but it's fascinating. Whether you're talking about North Central, Northwest Mississippi, or you're talking about the Gulf Coast, I feel like the conversation is more real than it has ever been about these multi-county partnerships, and I think in large part that's credit to you and your team at Link because of the success that you've had?
Well, I'd like to think that what Ryan and them are talking about up north right now is a result of what we've done here, and that's good. You know, in our business, stealing somebody's idea is the most sincere form of flattery you can give them.
Right.
Ricky Matthews, your broadcast
he has talked a lot about the Coast partnership,
and I think that's starting to get traction. So, you know, if nothing more, there's two areas of the state that we can focus on and say, hey, you know, maybe we're helping, and that makes the state better. And if the state's better, we're better.
Well, and I was going to ask you, you know, there's this idea in business that competition is good for business. That, you know, if you're driving down a main street in a town and you see a Starbucks, there's a good chance you're going to see a Chick-fil-A and a few other businesses because everybody has decided that that's where the people are coming. Does that hold true in major economic development projects, that competition is good for business even within a single state?
Yeah, I think it makes it good for business. First of all, it makes us better. You know, it's like going and playing against a bunch of guys that are not any good, and you say, hey, I think I'm going to be all world, and you go play against some good competition, they beat your head in, right? Yeah. So, no, I think, you know, I think it would be good, better for all of us if we had better in-state competition, because, again, you hedge your bets. If we don't win it, maybe somewhere north or south of us wins it, but Mississippi would still win it.
Is the geographic makeup of the state, you have talked to me in the past about the fact that land where you are, at least at the beginning, was abundant. Like there was a lot of opportunity for land that worked for the projects you were trying to attract. Does geography play a role in what projects you go after, what makes sense for a particular region?
Yeah, I had Cork riding through the mega site the other day, and you know, I was talking about, you know, how hard I'd been working to put this site together, and he said, I don't want to hear that crap. He said, look at this wide open land. He said, I mean, and he just started beating me up, you know, like you're not all that special as much as you think, you know, it's not that hard. Most places don't have this.
Yeah.
And it's not just in Mississippi. I mean, in East Tennessee, you know, I had a lot of TVA people have been here lately, and they said, you know, you just don't have this in East Tennessee. You got to build on the side of a mountain. But this rolling prairie land, and we don't have as much as we did, but there's still a whole bunch of land in this part of the world.
Yeah. Maybe not quite as flat as the Delta, but certainly topography that you can work with.
You can work with. And a lot of it is open. You got trees, but it's been grazed. It's been, you know, open fields with trees on the edges.
Visiting with Joe Max Higgins. He's the executive director of the Golden Triangle Development Link. Great projects, not only underway, but some that are on the horizon. Last time I visited with you was at Fort County. They had a big deal going on. We're going to talk about energy needs and energy consumption a second ago, because you challenged me when I left. You're like, hey, take the long way home. I want you to make the big loop. And I did. Got turned around a couple of times, but I made the big loop. And the scale of these sites that are part of Link is staggering. If you've never done it, I'd encourage you to check it out, just like Joe Max did with me as well. But it is absolutely staggering just how big these projects are. We'll talk more about energy consumption, working with Fort County, working with TVA. Is there enough energy to go around here in Mississippi? We'll get to that coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Glad to be with you on this Tuesday in West Point.
From the Seabrook Paint.
Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Hey, how's it going, man?
The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
To really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning as we broadcast live from West Point, Mississippi. Sun's up. Going to be a nice day. Going to be a warm day, but a nice day nonetheless. C-Spire text line open to you at 601-879-4395. Quinn says, man, they spin some plates in West Point. Yeah, a lot going on. John says a few months ago he reached out about a warehouse location. Said he'll be in Gluckstadt today looking at sites. Wouldn't have known about it if it had not been for us on the radio. And he says, thank you for that. John, appreciate you sharing that. There is a lot that is going on. Joe Max Higgins is my guest. He's the executive director of the Golden Triangle Development Link. From an economic standpoint, we've heard the governor's announcements over and over and over, kind of have passed $35 billion, and that number continues to grow in terms of economic development in his 5 years in office. It's happening all over the state. The environment is very, very competitive. What is it that, in your mind, I mean, I've heard what the governor says, heard what Bill Cork says. In your mind, what is it that has allowed Mississippi to be successful in this endeavor over the last handful of years?
Well, you know, you got to recognize the governor. You got to recognize Bill Cork for one. I mean, this is very competitive, as you just said, and you can't go at it mancy-pansy. I mean, you got to go, you know, dive in the mosh pit and hope somebody catches you almost.
Yeah.
They are aggressive. They're calculated aggressive, though. In working with them on deals, you know, we were talking in the earlier segment that they just don't, you know, I mean, they're not. They'll tell a deal no.
Right.
But we sat down. The three of us worked together. We built a plan. The governor's a dog with a bone when he gets one of these projects. He just really is. And I give them a lot of credit for that. And then for the communities, I think the ones that have put the products together, that's got the sites, that's got the water, the sewer, all the stuff either done or ready to get done, speed to market, that it gives those two guys something to sell.
Yeah.
And then you put, you know, the local community, the state agency, the governor. And, you know, governors can get involved too early in processes. It seems like he just got an intuition of when he needs to slide in there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know, Bill and I will work a deal, and then, you know, he's almost like the guy that comes in from the outfield, throws those 3 pitches at the end of the game, gets all the
closer.
credit. Yeah, closer, you know. And we go, yeah, but we pitched the whole game. And he said, yeah, but you needed me to finish it. And that's okay. That's okay.
Outs 25, 26, and 27 are supposedly the toughest outs to get.
And that's what we depend on him to do.
Joe Max Higgins, talking economic development, big projects. There's a lot going on. Kind of looking toward the 8 o'clock hour. We're going to talk with a couple of the guys from 4 County and the role that they play in this. But you mentioned data centers, right? You've got the big one going on in Madison. You got a data center project here, an ancillary data center project that could be on the way as well. And if we've learned anything about these data centers that are happening, and there is need that seems like you can't keep up with, they require a lot of juice.
Yep, they do.
Are you concerned about that in terms of power generation? The power generation that is needed to continue with these projects?
Well, all right, so if you'll take the Madison deal as an example, where Entergy's building the new powered plants, and
right,
we're going to fire that, that's kind of one model. But what we saw with XAI in Memphis is Elon just said, hey, you know, I'm going to put my own in. And
which apparently has already generated some pushback within the community.
Correct. And so what you're seeing now is, I was talking to one of the prominent law firms last week, and there are 4 kind of deals looking around in the state right now, and not counting Amazon, because that's done. All of them are looking at their own generation. The one here is looking at its own generation. The contract with the company to come in, build the generation, operate it, purchase the stuff, and provide the power. And that will free up space on the grid.
Right.
But, you know, it's not without concerns. I mean, it needs natural gas to run. You know, my question is, today we don't have enough electricity. Is tomorrow the question not enough natural gas? If we're burning the natural gas.
Geologists say there's a lot, right?
Yeah. And what I learned from one of the consultants the other day is, it seems that Kosciuszko, Mississippi may be ground central for gas. He said that is a very, very geographic key. Kosciuszko, Mississippi. So shout out to our friends there, you know.
No doubt. Congratulations if you own land in Kosciuszko. That might be worth more
But
than
I had
realize.
no idea, and he sent me some maps and some stuff, and I said, I get it now. But I think for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I mean, this starts being a problem. You get over here, you start fixing it. Yeah. Well, then you got another problem somewhere else.
I'm not smart enough to really know what I'm asking, but I am wildly fascinated with the conversation about modular nuclear power. I think I called them micro nuclear power plants, and somebody corrected me, said modular. The people that I've talked to that seem to know what they're saying say, yeah, but that's 30, 40 years away.
Yeah.
Is it really that long in terms of development for us to get to something? Because it feels like that has the potential, if it's safe and it's reliable, the chance to be the ultimate game changer in some of these major power-intensive sites.
It does. I'm on a committee at TVA looking at the power availability to 2035 and then actually to 50. And when I started looking at some of the stuff, and I think some of that's going to change, but there was more focus on solar and less on nuclear. And, I'm sitting in the room with Google and Meta and the steel mill and the Sierra Club. I mean, there's a lot of people in there.
Right.
And I'm thinking, it seems like this, I'm like you, Richard. This is our answer. And, they're doing a small one. I don't know if you saw TVA's got the green light to do a small one, but I read it last night. I think it's 50 megawatts. Well, that's not, the steel mill uses 360 megawatts. So,
wow.
We got to get to scale. Now everybody's saying Trump's making it easier, less regulations, all that stuff.
Do you hear that from people within the industry that it actually is what they're saying in terms of cutting through the red tape and less regulation? Or not yet? Like it's trending in that direction?
I think it is, but it's still some hangover. I mean, we're still having trouble with not even on power plants, but just getting visits from federal regulatory agencies to get stuff done. It's still we're not there yet. Not on the deals we're working.
Yeah,
I think you'll get there. But, what happens in the next administration when the rules change again? I just don't think as a country every 4 to 8 years we can go hard to the left and hard to the right. I mean, that starts being difficult.
Yeah. Joe Max Higgins, just a couple of minutes left. So, with the aluminum mill, I was driving around that one when we were here, and I was struck with just the scale of it, how much land there is, how big that site is. My untrained eye looks like there's a lot of room to grow out there as well. Is that part of the plan?
Yeah.
When some of these companies come in?
Oh yeah, we never try to cite somebody on it. We look at land to building ratios, what we put them on. We always want to give them room to expand because all of our plants that we've located expand. That aluminum plant is on a 1,400 acre site, but they've got another 700 acres north of them where the customer park's going.
Okay.
So they've got a 2,200 acre footprint there. The steel mill's got a 1,400 acre footprint. PACCAR, that's only a 500,000 square feet of building, has a 400 acre footprint. So we've given all these guys room to grow because we don't want them ever to get to the point where they don't want to expand. When they want to expand, there's not room.
Yeah. You mentioned something a second ago, and I know it was talked about a ton when Toyota came to Blue Springs. Toyota coming was a big deal. Secondarily, all of the suppliers kind of following in, and the job, they didn't have nearly the fanfare. They don't have that same logo, but they supply Toyota and have created untold jobs, good paying jobs. Is that happening with the mega site projects as well?
Oh, yeah. On the steel mill, you've got Mississippi Steel Processing, Altex Tube, New Process Steel, Golden Triangle Mill Services. There's about 1,000 people that work at the steel mill. There's probably close to that many people that work in other jobs vending on the site.
Right. And those suppliers, additional, those are on site also, or in?
Oh yeah, we make a roll of steel at the steel mill. It goes to Mississippi Steel Processing. It's cut into bands. It's sent over to Altex Tube and rolled into a tube, and then it's sent out to the customer. So we touch it 1, 2, 3 times before it ever leaves the site. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Klockner that I talked about earlier, that does the same thing for aluminum. Cuts it to width and length, and they're building about $100 million project. That's the first customer that's coming in with the aluminum mill. We've got 3 or 4 behind them looking that we're talking to right now.
So are those sites leased from you, or are they leased from the steel mill?
We gave the steel mill the site and the aluminum mill the site, and then they cut the deal with the customers that they want on site. You can't get on site unless you buy a certain volume, unless you have a certain relationship.
It's a fascinating business. A lot of tentacles.
Yeah.
In a lot of different directions. Continued success, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Always enjoy the conversation.
Always enjoy you.
Joe Max Higgins joining me this morning on Mornings with Richard Cross. He is the executive director of Golden Triangle Development Link. Great things happening there, and he said it earlier. He said, imitation, the sincerest form of flattery, when you look at a couple of other multi-county partnerships that are either underway or trying to get underway in the state of Mississippi. We will wrap up the 7 o'clock hour with you coming up next on MRC right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Truck.
Conversations and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising. Higher.
On Super Talk Mississippi, thanks for joining us today. I want to tell you about my friends at David Fisher Land Company. They have their headquarters. I gave you the weather for it earlier today. Inverness, 100 degrees today. Well, that's where the headquarters for David Fisher Land Company is, right there in the heart of the Mississippi Delta. David Fisher Land Company has been in the land business, and I know that's a broad term. It's because what they do is broad. Land financing, brokerage, land appraisals, occasionally leases, including leases on equity hunting properties, purchasing into equity hunting property. If it exists in the land business, then they have been involved with it. And I'd love for you to check them out. There is a new property that has come online in Panola County. Jack sent me this listing just a few days ago. He said, man, there's somebody in Oxford, somebody in North Mississippi, maybe over in the northern part of the Delta that would love this one. 366 acres in Panola County. It's called Hurt Creek, and it's a contiguous tract that spans an entire 1.5 miles between Shiloh and McNeely Roads in Panola County. You got Hunt Creek that runs along the eastern boundary of it. Outstanding deer population that you see there could really make for a cool hunting tract. So if you're looking for a hunting property of your own, or perhaps you got a group and you want to go in together and say, hey, we're going to start our own club. We're going to stop leasing from somebody else. The amount that we're paying for leases in a given year, we pool all of that together, and we got a note payment on a property. This one's well priced. Again, over 300 acres in Panola County, just waiting to have new tenants. It's priced at just a little over $1.3 million for 366 acres. If you've looked at land prices, you know that is a reasonable purchase. You can see this listing online at davidfisherland.com. That's the website, davidfisherland.com. davidfisherland.com. For all of your land needs in Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana, check out David Fisher Land Company. I want to go back to something we were talking about kind of at the end of the 6 o'clock hour, and we'll dive deeper into this yesterday. And that is what comes next with regard to Russia, Ukraine, the European Union, all of those countries banding together. We talked about the comments from Mark Rutte, the president of NATO, or the Secretary General of NATO. And he says, hey, we're in a place today that we were not and have not been. I thought the words from the president of Finland, I can't remember president versus prime minister. Stubb, what is he? President, yeah, the Finnish president. If you watched any of it yesterday, it was really a remarkable scene. They converted the East Room of the White House into this big meeting room. They had the press set up in there, and there were some other observers. Table out in the middle where you had Donald Trump at the middle of one side of the table, and then the world leaders from Europe, including Zelensky, kind of wrapped around the table. And President Stubb from Finland said, "We have made more progress in the last 2 weeks toward the ending of the Russia-Ukraine war than in the last 3.5 years." The mood in the meeting yesterday was vastly different than what we've seen, and frankly, what we've heard reported. The way this war has been talked about and the way Donald Trump's efforts have been talked about. I think everybody involved, though, is quick to say this was an important step. It was a historic day. It has a chance to become a very historic day, but there's a lot of work still to be done, and there already seems to be a sticking point. And the sticking point is the security guarantees. So all of the European nations, obviously Ukraine, and the United States, they all seem to be pretty close to in lockstep with regard to security guarantees that will be in place for Ukraine going forward so that they don't just get to a temporary peace deal, but a lasting peace deal. There's a deterrence element of that. You have to deter Russia from ever doing this again, and then there also has to be a penalty structure. And they talked a lot about Article 5. So we know Ukraine is not going to be a NATO country. They would love to be. They are not going to be officially invited in as a NATO member. But the idea is, can we create a NATO-like safety net for Ukraine and call it something other than NATO? And so they've talked a lot about Article 5 type protection. Well, Russia seems to have pushed back on that. They say it's a European put-together army. There are those that are in the United States, including John Bolton. What a schmuck that guy is. We'll talk more about him at the end of the show today, who says, hey, can't wait for the MAGA movement to see what it looks like when American soldiers are on the ground in Ukraine. That does not appear to be in the plans for this going forward. Zelensky and Putin are going to talk to each other, probably in person. And if that goes well, then Donald Trump will go in for trilateral conversations as well. From West Point, it's Mornings with Richard Cross.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi is on the road this week, broadcasting live this morning from West Point. The West Point Growth Alliance Prairie Arts Festival is coming up. We're talking about economic development projects and power. We're going to continue to do that. But it's not just here in West Point. Tomorrow, Sports Talk Mississippi on the road in Hattiesburg, a little bit different part of the state from where we are right now for the Not Fall Camp Tour. That rolls on. We'll be live at Ed's Burger Joint talking all things Golden Eagles tomorrow. It's the final stop of the Not Fall Camp Tour. Tons of giveaways. Genteel golf shirts and hoodies. Got some golf giveaways, hotel stays, gift certificates to Philip M's at Pearl River Resort. And a few more surprises for you. The Not Fall Camp Tour is presented by Pearl River Resort, your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Go to pearlriverresort.com for more information. And on Thursday, Sports Talk Mississippi will be at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College at the Dantzler Arena in Perkinston for Meet the Bulldogs night. Haydad and Borky will be there for that. We are glad to be with you, though, in West Point this morning. John Turner joins me right now from 4 County Electric. Brian didn't want to join us. He's going to sit over there off camera and leave all the heavy lifting to you. Good morning.
Well, that's his prerogative. You know, he's the boss.
That's what the boss gets to do. Yeah, he just flies around in the big planes and
that's right.
Does all the fun trips and he gets to sit on the side and sit out the interviews.
Right. So let's just be clear. No jets. No.
I didn't say jet. I just said plane. Turboprop's okay. It's not a bad way to get from one point to the next. No, a lot of good things that are happening at Four County. And one of the challenges that I think is unique to your cooperative is these projects that we've been talking about with Joe Max and talked about with the governor, with Bill Cork as well. When you have mega site projects like are going on in this part of the state of Mississippi, there are massive energy needs that go along with it.
That's right. And we are blessed that we have capacity from TVA that generates all the power that we sell. But it takes a team to get that together. I don't think people really appreciate how much prep work goes on for every one of these projects that lands. We're looking at probably double-digit projects. And that means staff has to invest time and effort into whatever specs that they need to think about coming here. So we are constantly working with potential, groups coming in, and that we're a small cooperative when it gets down to it. And so that, it takes a lot of time. So we do a lot of work. These projects can't land. I know I'm tooting our own horn, but these projects can't land without our help and our effort, and we're proud to be a part of that. And look at the success we've had.
You should toot your own horn. It's been impressive work that has happened. We got a message on the C Spire text line talking about cooperative energy kind of across the state of Mississippi, and said there are 17 generators throughout the state of Mississippi to serve local co-ops, and then some of that power is sold to other entities as well. But that, I don't know if that makes you unique or just a little bit different in structure in saying that your power all comes from TVA, right?
So we are sole recipient of TVA power. That's part of our contract. Now, they get power from places around the state. They've got some peaking plants all around, a couple in Caledonia, various places. But yes, we buy the power that they generate or that they buy off market somewhere else.
Going back a few years, the legislation that went into place that allowed cooperatives to put in fiber internet has been a complete game changer for so many parts of the state of Mississippi. If you live in a city, you don't have to worry about where your internet's coming from. There are lots of providers. But for people that live outside the city limits in rural communities, this has been just an unbelievable game changer.
Well, yeah, and so, 85 years ago, we were formed by folks who couldn't get power any other way, as a cooperative. And really what we found out is in getting into broadband, the folks in the rural areas, they weren't going to get it. And this was the only way. So we really kind of harkened back to our roots of providing power, of doing a service for folks who couldn't get something any other way. Our take rate in our rural areas is just through the roof. I mean, 60, 70% in some places, so that kind of shows you what the need is. And the other great thing about this is we talked about all the economic development was we have to get workers in, to staff these jobs. They can now live wherever they want and be connected to the world with high-speed, reliable fiber internet thanks to, the project that we put together.
We talk a lot about workforce development and, growing people into jobs that are available. And you bring up an interesting point that the number of work crews that you see, not just here in your four-county footprint, but all over the state of Mississippi that have been putting in this fiber optic internet, broadband service into rural parts of the state. There's no telling how many jobs that has created kind of within that outdoor construction field.
Sure. So, I think there have been multiple contractors and then local folks who get hired by those contractors. I know that was kind of our case, that when we contracted out a lot of the backbone work that we did, those contractors came in and they hired a lot of folks locally to be installers or whatever. And then, we've actually hired a few of those ourselves as we've moved along. So
it really is incredible when you think about, I'm going to use a very Mississippi term. When you live out in the sticks, and, it's like, okay, well, you had telephone, you got electricity, but internet, forget about that. Maybe there was a dial-up connection that was slow. But to think about people that, again, live in the sticks that are using, YouTube TV. They've given up on cable or satellite altogether. They're using their phones constantly because we don't just want LTE or 5G. We want Wi-Fi on our phones.
That's right.
And that's happening when you're 12 miles outside the city limits, just like it is if you're sitting right here in the old Carnegie Library building.
That's right. If you live within our certificated area, it doesn't matter where you live. If you've got a camp house 5 miles out, in the middle of nowhere, and you want fiber, we're going to bring it to you. So you can't do the things that you do without a good internet connection. I mean, it's just, and so that's
the first question that Houston asked. Right, what's our internet setup?
So, so everybody is internet dependent now. And I think we have gained a new appreciation for that almost every day as we go out there and we see that the opportunities that this project has opened for folks working from home, being able to access school stuff, business stuff, just, again, to live your life online, which is what most of us do anymore.
Visiting with John Turner, who oversees marketing and all of the efforts that are happening at Ford County Electric here servicing West Point and the surrounding communities. What's the biggest challenge that you guys are facing on kind of a day-to-day basis?
I think the biggest challenge that we face is trying to bring the best possible service we can at the lowest rate possible. I mean, things are they've been out of control for years as far as cost rises and, rate increases from our generator and things like that. And so we struggle every day with ways to do what we do better so that we don't have to pass any cost increases along, because the cost of living is tough, and we understand that people, especially, let's be honest, in the South, and there's not a lot of there's a lot of poor pockets, and folks, the housing stock is years old, or it's mobile homes, and people struggle to pay their bills. So we try to make sure that we do everything we can to keep that manageable for them.
With most things associated with technology, we see costs go up over time. I mean, you think about you get an introductory package to whatever your television provider is. And then a year later, your price, your bill goes up $8 a month. And a year after that, it goes up another $12. And you look back and you're like, hey, all this money that I was saving, I'm now paying more for these 12 apps and this streaming service than I was when I just had one bill and it was all of the channels in one place. For the most part, the cost of internet service has stayed fairly level, fairly flat. There have been some increases along the way. What is it that has allowed that particular service, broadband service, fiber service, to stay relatively flat when everything else is going up?
Well, I can't speak to everyone else, but I can speak to us. When we got into this, we sat down and we really worked hard to figure out what is that price point that we can come in at, that we're not going to have to do those things that you talked about, that we're going to be able to make enough of a profit to keep this thing moving and pay off our debt, and not have to raise rates down the road. And so we think we did that. We managed to, pick that number, and we've stayed there. But I don't know, you're right about the rest of it. I guess it's just the cost of doing business is fairly static as far as supply. I don't know.
With internet, everybody always talks about faster speeds. And, there are a lot of people that are offering gigabit internet. And now they're saying, oh, well, it's double. It's now 2 gig internet. What's the benefit for an end user in a home setting from going from 1 gig to 2 gig?
Honestly,
is there any?
Not really.
You don't even really need the 1 gig.
The tech hasn't caught up with that speed, right? There's nothing that you're doing at home typically, unless you really are internet dependent, pro gamer maybe. I don't know.
Maybe you're mining Bitcoin at your house and you need that bandwidth.
Exactly.
I don't know. But then you need the power, too, to go along with
Absolutely.
it. John, always good to visit with you. Thanks for stopping by today.
Appreciate it, Richard. Always good to see you.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. We got more coming up right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
They ask where you heard it. You tell them.
I know you heard it. Right here.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
It's early Sunday morning. The sun is clouds coming up.
Welcome again. Glad to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Sometimes these headsets need an instruction manual to go along with them. Happy to introduce to you my next guest, Jerry Pate. If you are a golf fan or you've operated at all within the golf world, it's a name that you recognize, and he has been deeply involved for the last couple of years, but really the last 40 years with Old Waverly Golf Club, which is right here in West Point, Mississippi, and now involved with Mossy Oak as well. I appreciate you coming by this morning.
Thank you, Richard. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. A lot of good things that are happening, and I want to start with something from your background, and it is it's almost impossible to think about now. Despite the fact that college golf is better than it has ever been. It's getting more coverage. The players are better. But it's hard to think of a college golfer who is elite, making the transition to the PGA Tour as a rookie, and not just being successful, but winning a U.S. Open, which a lot of people say is the most difficult test in all of golf. You did that as a rookie, 1976 at Atlanta Athletic Club. What an incredible moment, and it's kind of hard to top that when you start with that as a rookie on tour.
Well, you either have to be old or you read a lot of old history books. But I was lucky. I started the tour at 22, but I had played in the U.S. Open the year before as the U.S. Amateur Champion. I got paired with Gary Player, who is the British Open and Masters defending champ, and then Hale Irwin was the third, and he was the U.S. Open defending champ. And I birdied 2 of the first 4 holes, and I got on the fifth tee, and I saw my name leading the U.S. Open. I was 21 years old, and I hit the ball that way, and the hole went this way, and made double bogey and shot 78. And when I got finished, Hale told me, he said, you rookies, you college kids couldn't play for money if you had to. And, of course, Gary Player put his arm around me and said, don't worry about it, laddie, you're going to be okay. I shot 69, 72, 71, and beat everybody in the field the last 3 rounds other than Lou Graham. I tied Lou, who won it. So other than the 78, I had a pretty good score the first year.
What course was that?
That was at Medina in Chicago.
Okay.
So I was low amateur, finished 18th. So when I go to Atlanta the next year, I thought to myself, I'm a pretty long hitter, and I'm straight. And that's what you need at the U.S. Open. And so that really gave me the confidence. And then I went on and just steadily played one day after another. And I got to Sunday paired with John Mahaffey in the final group. And he had about a 3-shot lead and fell apart. And I went birdie, par, birdie. And I think he went bogey, 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 bogey. So that'll lose the U.S. Open. And
it certainly will.
And 2 birdies in the last 4 will win the U.S. Open. So
Did you find Hale Irwin and ask if they were going to hand out a check?
The funny thing is, Hale was the most competitive guy that I've ever met. Very good friend, and I still tease him about that. He said, that's not true. I said, when you're 21 years old, you play your first round of the U.S. Open, and you're leading and you blow it, and you come out of that scoring tent in tears, you never forget what somebody says to you. But he was a great competitor. He won 3 U.S. Opens. He won 45 times on the senior tour, of course, only to be topped by Bernhard Langer, who is like a machine at 67 years old. He's won like 48 times. But
it's amazing the shape that he's in.
Yeah, Langer stays in good shape. He's really pleaded with me. He's a very good friend. He says, you can still play. You need to come out and play. I said, Bernhard, I've got more irons in the fire in business with about 4 different companies, and now like a wild man and an idiot, I've gotten involved back with Old Waverly. We put a group of people together to come back in and do some renovation work at Mossy Oak, which is an 8-year-old Gil Hance golf course. And then we've done a lot of work at the Old Waverly course, and around the clubhouse we've got a lot of big things in store, and I have about 12 great partners, and I'm the chairman of the group because I'm the golfer, so they sort of hoodwinked me into and I'm spending more time in West Point these days than I am in my hometown, Pensacola.
When's the last time you jumped into a lake?
Oh, my. Well, playing golf, it was 1982 at the Players, and that's a whole nother story. We don't have enough radio time for that. But, people forgot I actually jumped in Memphis. I went 2 years.
At Colonial, right?
I went 2 years without winning. I went to dinner at Curtis Purston's home on Friday night, and his wife was saying, you should win. I said, it's so hot. If I win, I'm going to jump in the lake. Well, she told Curtis. Curtis goes in the press room Saturday afternoon and says, Jerry Pate's going to jump in if he wins. I birdied 15 to take the lead on Saturday, and they say it on TV. Frank Gleber at CBS said, Jerry Pate's vowing to jump in. And, of course, you've got Ken Venturi and Summerall, who all of these guys have since passed, and they were making a big deal. So I showed up on Sunday morning. Well, when I got in the press room as the leader, they said, I hear you're going to jump in. I said, you what? And they said, well, you jump in? I said, hey, if I win, I'll jump in. So now I've opened my big mouth, and I've got to do it. Come to the last hole, playing with Jacobson and Tom Kite. I make birdie, win by 2, and Jacobson looks at me. He says, okay, you got to go.
Go do it, big boy.
And then the second time, which got all the publicity, was the Players' Championship.
Right.
It was the diabolical stadium course Pete Dye built in 1980. The first championship there was 82, and every great player on tour had missed the cut. They were going to fire the commissioner, Dean Beeman. They were going to kill Pete Dye. And I'll never forget Alice, his wife, running up to me. I birdied 12, and I'm right there near the lead. And Bruce Litsky, my brother-in-law, believe it or not, was leading. He was the group behind me, and I was in the next to the last group. And she grabs me by the arm going back to the 13th tee, this par 3, and she said, you've got to win and throw Pete in the lake. So I come up, I birdie 17 and 18, and that'll usually get it for you if you can birdie a couple of them coming in, and won by 2. And I asked the commissioner and Pete to come over to the edge of the bulkhead. It was about a 6-foot-high bulkhead, and I said, the wall's about to fall in. They said, you're kidding. I said, no, you got to see this. And the ceremony was about to take place. I grabbed the commissioner, threw him in, and I grabbed Pete, threw him in, and I dove in behind him. But a lot of fun, and it brought levity to the game. That it's not brain surgery on children. It's just a fun game. People are paying good money to come out and watch golfers entertain them, not only with their good golf, but to have fun while they're doing it.
You said you're involved in so many businesses now. If you'd been playing for the purse that they've got at the Players now, you might not have to be involved in quite as many businesses. It really is remarkable how much money is available to tour players these days.
Well, that's never motivated me. I've been in a lot of different businesses, and I signed a contract at CBS Sports. It was unbelievable. My agent was Sean McManus at IMG. I was taking Ken Venturi out after I'd worked 5 years at ABC Sports, and I went back home for 3 years, and was building golf courses. And then Cherkinian, who is the great producer, came to me and said, look, we want you to take out Venturi. He needs to retire. And I worked 1 year, and I walked away from it. But Sean not only was my agent, 2 years later he became president of CBS Sports, and then he became president of CBS.
Yeah.
And he's now retired. So needless to say, unless I stumped my toe, I would have had a great job at CBS. It was a very lucrative contract, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be home with my wife and my children. They were growing up. They were teenagers, and I didn't want to be on the road with a bunch of guys talking about golf, and because I wasn't playing anymore. I got injured literally 3 months after winning the Players in 82. I just was beat a shot at the Masters. I think I was second at Doral and maybe second at Colonial. And it was in May, and I was practicing hitting 1-irons of all things on hard ground, preparing for the British Open at Troon. And I hit one shot, and bam, I tore my cartilage in my shoulder. But in those days, we didn't have MRIs or barely CT scans, and they couldn't look into your shoulder. And so finally Jim Andrews scoped it in 85, 86. It never got better. I went to L.A. Frank Jobe took my whole shoulder apart and reconstructed it. That was the end of my career. And, you talked about how hard it is to get on the PGA Tour. I had a 10-year exemption and didn't really use it. So I went into business. I started building golf courses, more golf courses. I built my first one in 77 with Tom Fazio, and did one in 82, Tiger Point, Palm Beach Polo with Ron Garl. Bob Cupp, I worked in Detroit at Indianwood. We worked at the Grasslands in Lakeland, and I brought Bob up here as my partner to do Old Waverly in 1986. And it's been a great ride, and the Bryan family, they've done so much for this community and for the state of Mississippi.
No doubt.
And I owed it to George. George helped me. When I got injured, I actually was a consultant for Sara Lee, traveling with Sara Lee was a big company. People don't realize that Bryan Foods was part of a $5 billion Meat Group,
right,
which was part of a $21 billion company in 1990, and 160,000 employees. John was really a magnanimous leader at Sara Lee, and George, his brother, was running a $5 billion division, and having the meat plant right here in West Point was a big deal. Of course, now it's all been cut up. I think Johnny Tyson owns it all now with Tyson Chicken. He's the meat king of the world. But the Bryan family did so much for the state of Mississippi, and when George helped me out and Johnny Bryan helped me out by having me work with them in the late 80s and early 90s and traveling, I mean, I was right there on the 50-yard line when Muhammad Ali lit the torch of the 96 Olympics. And Sara Lee was the largest sponsor of that Olympics. Wow. I think they put $300 million into that Olympics. So just a great family and done a lot for the state.
When we come back, we will talk about what is happening at Old Waverly and at Mossy Oak, and we'll talk a little bit about Jerry's relationship with George Bryan, who was such a good man, one of the kindest individuals you would ever meet. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. Quick time out. We're back after this, or with Jerry Pate.
I'll be in church next Sunday to save me from those double bogey blues.
From the same
Super Talk Mississippi.
You heard it here first.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Here comes the
Thanks for being with us. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, back with you in West Point, Mississippi. We are live this morning at the West Point Growth Alliance, reminding you that the Prairie Arts Festival is coming your way in 11 days. August 30th, Labor Day weekend, is the big day for Prairie Arts Festival. Food, music, art vendors, and all the great things about West Point on center stage that day. And we're talking other things that are going on here in the Golden Triangle as well. Jerry Pate is my guest. He is the co-designer of Old Waverly. You heard him say just a few minutes ago, 1986. He and Bob Cupp did that course. I say this selfishly and also admiringly. Old Waverly is a course, in my mind, and I know maybe from a length standpoint, not PGA Tour, but has absolutely stood the test of time. And I think you're hard-pressed to find somebody that plays Old Waverly that doesn't walk away from it. I'm a 7.
A 7? That's pretty good. You'd have to give me a couple of shots.
I don't know about that. I played with a guy this weekend. He was talking about that. A dear friend, and he's 62, and whole time was, how many shots am I getting? Come on now. But no, it's hard to find anybody that has played golf at Old Waverly that doesn't walk away from that going, what a great golf course, what a fun experience. It's the right mix of fun and challenge and beauty and all of that rolled into one, which to me is the mark of a great golf course.
Well, Old Waverly was really a fun project. When I met George Bryan and we flew down and looked at the site, I knew it had great potential. At that time, I did not have Bob Cupp as a partner.
Okay.
He had worked for Jack Nicklaus for about 15, 18 years and was wanting to leave Jack. He was an understory, and of course Jack was the show. And I think Bob wanted to get his own name out in lights, and he ended up building 3 golf courses with me. He built several with Tom Kite, Fuzzy Zeller, Hubert Green, and then John Fody built a golf course out in Oregon. So he worked with a lot of golf pros. Bob was a pretty good player, but he was a great artist. He could draw the green settings, just sketch them out, which was really great. But things like the strategies of the shot playability, the bunker, the hazards, where we had creeks and streams. You take the 15th hole with the creek down the left side and you cross over it. I mean, we created that creek. It was actually running on the right side.
Oh, wow.
I moved it to the left side.
Yeah.
We just took a big track hoe back in 1986 and just moved it over. But it looked, and of course we had all the vegetation on it. We weren't really degrading the environment. We just wanted it wide enough to play up the right side of the hole. But Bob was a great partner to work with. As I said, we worked at Indianwood in Detroit. We worked at the Grasslands in Lakeland, Florida. Indianwood had a senior open, a couple of women's opens. The Grasslands had some Nike and Hogan Tour events. And then this golf course here has had the women's open, the women's junior, and the women's amateur. So, but working for George was great. He was one of the finest guys and easy to work with, and he allowed us to do our thing, and he gave us a lot of freedom.
Your relationship with George, he had a great respect for the game of golf, loved the game of golf, but also he had a profound proudness of his home state of Mississippi as well. How evident was that to you as you were working with him?
Oh, well, he was so kind, and, we spent a lot of time. I would go to Mississippi State football games with him, and we went duck hunting in Arkansas. He had a duck club. We played golf. He would go to the Augusta National and played golf with Sara Lee customers, Brian Food customers. Just a wonderful guy. In fact, I tell the story, and of course, Wilkes was a young guy. His son Wilkes, who's in his 50s now, and of course, I met Wilkes in 1985. It was in October 1985. It's a long time ago. You're talking 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But we'd go to the state game, and, of course, Mississippi State always had great teams. And Alabama hated to play them. I went to Alabama because the first half, Mississippi State would just beat up Alabama. They wanted to beat Alabama, but we had enough players that we could just keep sending more soldiers in.
Keep running them in.
And we'd wear them down. And so State would be winning, and with the third quarter it'd be close, and all of a sudden Alabama would run a punt back. The State players have been playing the whole game, get tired or something. George would get up from the seats and go sit in the old Waverly van and listen to it on the radio. And so after the game, and again, Alabama had won, and it was a close, it was a tearjerker. And get in the van, we're driving back from Starkville, and George never said a word. He's sitting in the front seat, and we pull in old Waverly Drive. He turns around with that old Mississippi twang of, Jay, Alabama's the luckiest some bitches ever played. And somehow he'd say, and we would just.
There are a lot of people that would believe that too.
He would say, I can't believe we didn't win that game. But and Alabama's been fortunate. It's I guess it's been a league of its own with Nick Saban. But we're going to see now with Coach DeBoer what's going to happen in football. But this is a very special place. Since I got involved in January a year ago in 2024 when Boyce Adams called me and Brian Harden. They were on the council to run the trust for George when George had a stroke 4 years ago, and he was in a wheelchair, and then a couple of years ago he died. And of course we came to his funeral. They didn't know what was going to happen with the golf course because the family didn't really want to run it, and I'm not sure could have run it. Miss Bryan talked to Boyce, and they decided they were going to think about having to sell the property. And so they called me, and I said, there's no way you sell it to a management company. It's not going to be a family community course anymore.
Right.
And I want to do something back to the community where George helped me. So I kept getting more calls, and I'm up here getting more in the swamp, should you say.
Sure.
And finally Boyce said, well, why don't we put a group together? So Boyce and I put together a group of about there's either 10 or 12 people. I mean, I think there's like 11 or 12 people that are all successful business people, most of them from the state of Mississippi. I don't want to say who they are, but they love Mississippi.
Right.
And that's what this is about. We love the community. And I had a great friend in Pensacola come to me and said, God, I heard you're the chairman of it now, and you're one of the largest shareholders. I said, yeah, that's true. He said, well, how are you going to make that work, and what's your exit strategy? And I said, my exit strategy, we hadn't even started. He said, well, what do you think? How do you buy a golf course in your exit strategy? I said, it's death. And they went, what do you mean death? I said, I don't have an interest in none of my partners. We just started, and we're all old. We don't have a problem of selling. We want to build and grow the community, and we want to build this property. It is the ranked number 1 and 2 best golf courses in Mississippi. We want it to be not just the best in Mississippi. We want it to be the best in the country. I don't believe in being just good in Calhoun County, where I grew up in Anniston, or Escambia County in Pensacola, or Clay County. I want to be the best in the country. And George certainly had the same vision, I know his brother John, when he ran Sara Lee and was on big boards, and George was on big boards, whether it's Regions Bank or Shell BP or General Motors. I mean, they were on boards of major public companies. They want to be the best. They don't want to just be good. And so we know that this community has the opportunity to bring something great to the country. We have great leadership out there. We have fantastic employees. But when George had a stroke, it's just people were just sort of, I guess you would say, in an iron if you were sailing on the ocean. The sail was up, but there wasn't really a lot of wind. There wasn't a lot of momentum. And so I think with my energy, Boyce Adams' energy, and our partners, we have Toxie Hayes, we have Joe Stevens here locally. We have some other local investors, John Ross McCartney.
Bryan family still involved?
Miss Bryan, and she's still a partner, so she's still involved. And believe me, when I got involved in January a year ago and everybody was talking, what's going on, and I would go to Marcy and then I would bring information to the trust, and they would look at me and I said, let me tell you something. When I came down here in '85 and it was a soybean field out there, and it was Robert Harrell's farm, and he's married to George's sister. Robert since passed, Carolyn, and she still lives there. And Brian Harrell's still building around there, and he's done work for us. I said that, Miss Bryan, I met her the same day in 1985. No person other than George Bryan knew more than she did, and they've lived this. This has been their life. You've got Suzanne and Nancy and Laura and Wilkes and the son-in-law Shane Williams. I mean, his son can really play golf.
Absolutely.
I keep telling Shane, I said, don't screw him up. Leave him alone.
Leave him alone.
He's 21 or 2 years old. The guy is really good.
Yeah.
And when he believes he's good, he can be as good as anybody on that PGA Tour if he can get out there. That's the magic little trick. It's like the Rubik's Cube. You just got to get it. You can sit there and play with it, but when you figure out how to turn them and the colors all match, you go, this is pretty easy. Yeah. And that's the way golf is.
We only got a minute left, so 30-second pitch overview of the changes that are happening to Mossy Oak.
Well, we've redone all the bunkers. We've redone all the putting surfaces on the greens. We've added cart paths. Originally, it was designed as a walking course. I think they found out in the summer when it's warm, people don't want to walk 18 holes here in this part of the country, so you need golf cars. The soils being heavy soils, Mississippi has heavy soils, clay, but it has really good pH. It grows a lot of crops. It grows a lot of grass. It grows trees, but it also doesn't drain well, so we had to fix some of the drainage.
Jerry Pate, involved heavily as both a partner and kind of an architect on the redo at Mossy Oak and some of the changes that are happening at Old Waverly. Thanks so much for your time. Great visiting with you this morning.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Mornings with Richard Cross. We'll wrap things up with you coming up next.
From the Venable Glass.
Check this out. Now, what can be offered to you?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Information.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
This is our last segment, but the day is not done here in West Point. Gerard will be in about an hour. From 10 until 1, you will hear Middays with Gerard Gibbert from right here at the West Point Growth Alliance. He will visit with Lisa Klutz. Also got conversations coming up with Jack Wells and Mayor Rod Bobo and Matt Dowell and Jan Miller as well. More about the good things that are happening in West Point and in the greater Golden Triangle area, but also getting you ready for Prairie Arts Festival. If you're in Mississippi and are looking for a weekend getaway on Labor Day weekend, Prairie Arts Festival may be just the spot for you. Going to be great food, great music, and an incredible amount. Lisa told us earlier, over 200 art vendors will be here for Prairie Arts Festival on Saturday, August 30th. Put it on your calendar. I know not all of you are golf fans, but and that conversation may have been a little golf heavy, but it really is. It's kind of the next chapter for the Old Waverly story here in West Point, a golf course that has meant so much to the community. George Bryan meant not only so much to the West Point community, but as Jerry was saying a second ago, to the entire state of Mississippi. He loved amateur golf. He loved college golf. He loved youth golf. You see that in some of the success that youth golfers have had. That Old Waverly was their home course. Some that have even moved to be part of Old Waverly and the youth golf program that they had there. So an exceptional part of the story. And golf is a significant tourism generator in Mississippi, and this is no doubt it's a golf town where a lot of people care very, very deeply about that. Will East in the studio. That make you want to pull the clubs out and sneak out?
That's pretty fascinating. I mean, I've always said Mississippi's a big, small town, and yeah, you got a guy who's talking about Gary Player one moment and then talking about being in West Point, Mississippi the next.
No doubt. And you heard Jerry talk about the fact that his career was cut short by injury. He was a phenomenal player. I think 8 wins on tour, including that U.S. Open at 22 years old. In his second ever U.S. Open, won it at Atlanta Athletic Club. He won the inaugural Players Championship, now just the Players, at TPC Sawgrass there in Ponte Vedra, right outside of Jacksonville, and won in Memphis in what was still the Danny Thomas Classic at that point. It was before they transitioned into the St. Jude Classic, and there's a lot of history in Memphis, Tennessee for professional golf, going back a long, long way to Colonial Country Club, and then making the move over to TPC Southwind all those years ago, and now is one of the playoff events, and pretty significant impact there. John Bolton. This is a guy that has a unique talent. Will, to have both Republicans and Democrats dislike you equally takes a special talent. John Bolton is, I guess, a lifelong Republican. Some of what came out in his book that he wrote was not exactly complimentary of Donald Trump. And the thought was, because he was anti-Donald Trump, Democrats were just going to kind of line up behind him. And he's now working, I guess, as a pundit from time to time at CBS, or excuse me, at CNN. I don't know that we got time to play the clip for you. I'll hold that and play it for you tomorrow. But I found some quotes from 2020. So this is post-Trump presidency. He got fired along the way, clearly was bitter, wrote a book, and in 2020, when he was trying to sell books, there were Republicans and Democrats alike who did not hold back with their thoughts on John Bolton, who many labeled a neoconservative, once heralded as the gold standard for the Republican Party on foreign policy and national security issues. Listen to some of these quotes. Senator Kevin Cramer, a Republican from North Dakota, said Bolton is, quote, somebody who thought he was being hired to be the commander-in-chief, and he wasn't. Close quote. Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina said, quote, anyone who claims to have witnessed treason and obstruction of justice and tells about it in a book, close quote, not exactly somebody that can be trusted. John Barrasso, a Republican from Wyoming, said, every meeting I've been in with John Bolton, he views himself as the smartest in the room. He thinks he should be the president, Speaker of House, and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court all at the same time, close quote. So those are Republicans that didn't like the fact that he kind of turned on the president. But what about Democrats? Senator Sherrod Brown, a Democrat from Ohio, about Bolton said, he cares more about his book than he did public service. Chris Murphy, the blowhard from Connecticut, said Bolton is, quote, obviously interested in making money, not saving the republic. And Nancy Pelosi criticized Bolton for not testifying during the impeachment trial and said she'll meet with committee chairs to discuss whether to haul him in to speak to lawmakers. Whew. I think there's a level of talent to have both Republicans and Democrats despise you in the way that they seem to John Bolton. Kind of a gas bag now. Sounds like CNN's a perfect place for him. Thanks for being with us. The West Point Growth Alliance Prairie Arts Festival coming up on
August 30th. Gerard will be along at 10. It's Mornings with Richard Cross.
A SuperTalk Mississippi Media production.